All right. So today we've got a little bit of mining. Go figure. Um, as you can see from the quick little blurb there, I was jumping to ArcL 3 and dropped out at 11.8. That puts me right in belt 5 of the Aaron Halo. Um, a lot of times I just go through and show like successful finds, successful breaks, and so forth. Quick note, if you want to show your information on the middle of the screen for speed and altitude and so forth, it's in the settings on that one panel in the MFD at the very bottom. So anyway, I've been told that I usually only show a lot of successful mining runs. So today we're getting little bit different. I will abbreviate it as much as possible, but I will show like some of the asteroids I come across that may or may not be mineable. Something to keep in mind is a couple of patches ago, they really modified mining heavily. Basically, turned the mining head system upside down. Kind of flipped everybody out. The Lancet, which everybody used previously, is pretty much worthless now. And some of the other ones that were not used as much, pretty much all the other ones, are now more useful. I personally prefer to go with the Hofstede S1 and a Riger C3. That gives me enough that I can typically crack between 10 and 13 or so K, depending on the composition, because that's one of the other things that they did. They changed the mining heads so that supposedly, and I haven't really done a lot of research on this yet, but each mining head is suitable more for one particular base material like aluminum, titanium, corundum, so forth, and iron. So I usually go with the Hofstede. So in some cases that's good, in some cases it's not. But overall it works for me. Now, I say that because this particular rock that I'm doing right now, I couldn't crack, and it was only like 10K. But the material that it was made of was not ideal for the Hofstede. So even though it was only 10K, and I'm sure if you watched any of my videos, you've seen me crack 12 and 13K rocks all the time. That there are sometimes base material rocks that you just can't do with that setup. This was one of them. So just keep that in mind. Another reason I'm doing this video the way I am this time is so that other people that are learning to mine maybe won't get quite so discouraged. There's no reason, even if you're not finding a lot of rocks that you want to mine, that you can't still make 100K plus per run. For example, there's times I've gone out and not found much in the way of tier 1 ores that I can mine. So I've come back with like borate or laranite. Just depends on where you drop out and what spawned in that area at that time. So keep that in mind when you're mining. It's a patience game. Sometimes you might go out in the belt for an hour or two and come back with tier 2 materials and a mix of tier 2 and tier 1. You know, obviously tier 1 being gold, bexylite, terranite. Some of your tier 2s being like borace. So like for instance, this rock here is agricium and copper. I'm not going to take it because I don't want it. Now once crafting and base building are in, that might be a rock I grab. I may just come out here and grab the first rock I come to it and have at it. It just depends on how they set it up. Because a lot of those lower end materials, tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3 altogether, will be needed. Along with rock mining, hand mining, you name it. But until then, we're going to stick with primarily the tier 1. And the upper level of tier 2. When I say the upper level of tier 2, I mean Borace and Laranite. And Borace as a tier 2 is a really good one for beginners because you can, it usually does very good breaks. So even in like a 30 or 40% rock or asteroid, you might get 100% or two chunks. One or two of those. So by all means, if you come across a Borace, especially if it's in the 40-50% range, go ahead and crack it. Pick up them 100%ers and move on to the next thing. I even go so far with Borace because it's still, I believe, worth about $3,000 refined per SCU. So it's not as high as the tier 1s, but it's still decent. And you can get a lot of it because it's not dense like gold. So you can absorb a lot more of it without having other materials involved. So basically what you're seeing here is me running around the belt, just looking at various rocks. Normally I cut all this out and just show you the rocks I'm breaking. But I'm showing this now, just like I said, so new miners don't get discouraged. Not every rock you find is going to be a keeper. So you just keep going. So for instance, perfect example, here we have a Borace rock. We'll go ahead and crack this and we'll take the bigger chunks. And then if we still have room, we'll keep going and find another rock. So a lot of my runs to date have been like single rocks that I've cracked and extracted, and then I head back and refine it. And some of the runs I do are like this probably will be, because this rock's not very big. So I'll take the biggest chunks, like probably like 70% on up, maybe even 50%, depending on what I've got. And then I will move on and try and find another rock with tier 1 ore. So like I said, it's just something to keep in mind. Same thing with salvage. Pretty much any gameplay loop. Most of the industrial gameplay is going to be patience game. So whether it's hauling or trading or mining, salvage, eventually when it comes out, repair and crafting and all that stuff, it's all going to be a patience game. If you're not a very patient person, that might be kind of tough, but that's what it's working out to be. Now you can see some of these rocks are purple, some of them are yellow. And then don't do like I did here and try and extract a yellow rock. Got distracted by the purple one over there. I thought they were all purples at the time. Same thing here. So we'll get the fracture going. And the other thing I like about the Hofstede is it's good for secondary breaks as well. But I mean, starting out mining, you can even go out with the stock head and mine. So don't be afraid to go ahead and pick up a prospector, or if you already have one pledged, take it out and break some rocks. There's no better teacher than experience. And you'll find your own ways of doing things and so forth. So basically, my videos are just kind of like, this is how I do it. If that works for you, great. Then you're a step ahead. If it doesn't work for you, then maybe you can take some of what I did, modify it, use it for your way. I will say I pretty much always go with the Riger C3 module, always go for it with the Hofstede, and I always carry at least a Saber gadget with me. Usually I'll carry a Saber and then an Optimax, and for those that don't know, the Saber reduces resistance by like 50 or 60% or something like that. And the Optimax actually decreases your charge window, but it increases clustering by like 60%. So that means you should get more of the tier 1 ore clustered into chunks. So you should get higher percentage than what it would normally. And of course, we're just looking through here to see what all these rocks are. This is the other thing I do is when I'm mining, once I break the rock down as far as I want to, I go through and I check all the pieces before I start picking up. Because you never know when you're going to find those hundreds like that. And I definitely want to grab those first, and then I'll usually work my way down. Like I said, in this case, it's not tier 1, it's Borace, which is tier 2. So I'll probably grab some of the higher percentage ones, including the hundreds, maybe even down to the 90s and 80s, maybe even 70s. And then depending on where I'm at, if I think I have enough to find another rock, I'll move on and leave the rest. So there's another 100 there. See, just between those 200s, I'm sitting pretty decent. Not a lot of inert or tier 3 materials. Well, depending on how you look at it, some people consider gold, bexylite, and taronite as tier 3. Some refer to as tier 1. Just depends on how you look at it. I usually refer to them as tier 1, and like your base materials would be tier 3. But you may hear people flip it around. It's all in what group they're with and who they're doing it with. Alright, so we don't need aluminum right now. And that's another thing to consider. You may find, after crafting and base building comes out, you may go out and find a rock and get a bunch of 100% aluminum or something, but you don't need any. So you end up leaving it. And then of course down the road, once the game is more stable, we'll probably be doing mole runs and stuff like that. And eventually the Arastra will come out. We'll use that. And then it won't be as much of an issue. Especially like down the road with the bigger ships like the Arastra and the Orion. You might go out on one of those with someone, or if you have your own, you might go out with a crew, and you might just pick up everything you find. Or you might limit it to just high-end materials, like the higher grades. So that left us with right about 20 SCU from there. And you figure 20 SCU break down to somewhere between like 15 and 17 times 3. So that's probably between 40 and 50,000 right there. And then once I finish a rock, then I'll look for another one that's close. Kind of minimize my travel time. Now I don't go into nav mode when I'm mining. Just have it. I stay out of it because I want the shields to stay up. I don't want to forget. And although they did make it so you can mine now in nav mode, I choose not to. So there's another one too big, or not enough good materials, whatever the case may be. And like I said, we'll just keep going till we're full or close to it, and then we'll go back. I should also preface that with, if I'm out here mining and I get to the point where I only have 5 to 8 SCU left or something like that, then I may not bother. I may just go ahead and go back and refine it. It's kind of a balance because, yeah, maybe I'd find another rock that has a good, tier one materials, or maybe I wouldn't. The way this run has been going, I'm looking at a lot of rocks and mining very few of them, so that's fine. Uh, and then every once in a while, I'll change it up and I'll go a little farther. Just like if I start finding, I'm not finding a lot. I'll change it up, go a little farther, and see if maybe that changes the luck. You can even go into your nav mode and jump just a little farther toward whatever place it is, just to kind of hit a new area. Which is why I leave the nav, like wherever I've had map to go to, I leave it set up while I'm in here. And then that way, if I'm not finding anything, I just line it up, go back to nav mode, jump a couple hundred, maybe. So like if I jumped out at 11.8, maybe I'll go to 11.7 and see if that changes it up. All right, let's see what we got here. Well, there's a Vexillite, but that's going to be too big. So on to the next one. But I mean, we know it's in the area, so maybe I won't go as far this time. Yep, sounds like the wife and kid are home. It's going to get loud for a second. That would be the puppy. He gets excited when they come home. Alright, looks like we got 5 rocks here. It'll probably be a mix of things like Grack and things like can't, or things I don't want to. So we'll go ahead and check them all, and then we'll figure out which one we want. So that's Agricium. We're not going to mess with that. Let's see. And if you can't find them, just scan again. That'll highlight them. Alright, so there's a gold. About 10 or so, it looks like. Yes, Yeti is a good mic. You can hear this. You can hear all kinds of stuff. Alright, there's Vexillite. Not very big. I probably should take that, because Vexillite's one of the better of the 3 tier 1s. But it's a little smaller compared to the other 2. So we've got that one and the one to the left there. And then, of course, the other one with Vexillite. So I'll probably try this one first, just because it's bigger, and see what I get. Alright, so we'll get out of here. We'll put a gadget on it, see what we can do. Obviously, at 10K, probably got to go ahead and put a saber on it. Just to kind of hedge my bets a little bit. Apparently don't run out of the ship. It takes forever to stop. I think they come up with a button where you can just pick that one gadget. Alright, let's see if we can get this on here and see what we can do. Another thing here, as you're watching, see how it's like horizontal? If you actually get in close enough, it will actually, depending on the faces, it'll actually attach properly. I'm not going to worry about it right now because as long as it's there, it should work. Then we're looking at 90% or better is what we want. And yes, this does not work as well as on the ground, on moon or planet mining. I mean, it works the same. It's just harder to set up. Alright, there we go. Obviously, you're drifting around in space. You're moving around a little bit here and there. Alright, so now that we got the gadget on there, let's go ahead and see if we can break it. Now that we've actually shown a little bit of this, I'll probably expedite some of the video. Like, I won't bother showing you the flight back and all that. I'll cut all that out just to keep it reasonable. I like to shoot for, on the most part, I try to shoot between 20 and 30 minutes. Some of them go a lot longer, depending on what we're doing, like the reclaimer stuff. Alright, so I went ahead, I had a gadget on that. I did it for a while, actually, probably 10 minutes, and it wouldn't go up above like a few ticks. So rather than make you sit through all that, we're just going to go ahead and recover the gadget and move on to the next rock. Like I said, it's one of those things. You're not going to be able to crack every rock, even if it seems you should be able to. It just depends on the makeup of the rock. Some of them are, I guess, denser. I don't know. But they do actually, the materials actually affect it. I think if I remember correctly, titanium isn't necessarily the best base material for Hofstedes, if I remember right. One of these days I'll have to do some research and figure out which head works best for which type of ore. But of course, that's kind of difficult to do with a prospector because you can't take mining heads with you. So what I might have to do is just go, once I get the moon stuff working again, just take and go out there with, say, go to each area. So go to like Crusader and hit a moon with a certain head, and then come back later and do another one. It'll be a multi-part series. We'll see. That's probably not a bad idea. Or maybe I'll just see if I can get into the files and find out. That's actually a possibility. Alright, now I'm just looking around to see if I can find those rocks again. Got a little turned around. So just take your time. They're there. Space can be a little bit disorienting. So there's the Agricium. We don't want that. Another Agricium. So we had a Bexlite, 2 gold, and 2 Agriciums. So there's the one I was trying to break. You can see the different shading when you scan for one that's close up as compared to one that's not. Alright, so that's that Agricium one again. So we will go to the other side here. And there's that gold again. Over a little bit more. There it is. So we'll go ahead and hit that one because the Bexlite rock was only 6K. And I've still got, what, about 33 SCU available. I guess I didn't have as much Borace as I thought. We've got about 14 SCU. So that'll work out to about 10 or 11, maybe 12 at most. So I'll be looking at about probably somewhere between 30 and 36,000 in Borace. Gold, of course, is up in the high 7s, low 8s, depending where you sell it. We'll go ahead and put an Optimax on this one, just because it's not very big. Optimax reduces the resistance by about 30%, if I remember right. And then gives you 60% clustering. And then, of course, it decreases the size of the charge window. So, all right. And just kind of ease in. There we go. Well, back up a little bit. Try again. There we go. The other thing that seems to be doing lately is turning it upside down. Normally I just do it upside down, but we'll flip around this time. And if your number is that low to start off with, your best bet is just move everything to one side or the other. All right, and then work your way down from there. Focus on one until it doesn't move much anymore. In this case, I got lucky and it did the trick. All right, find our ship again. Because space is disorienting. Don't freak out. Your ship's not gone. Well, theoretically, it's not gone. There's always that possibility with Star Citizen. But in this case, it's still there. So you just got to look around until you find it. Or remember how you turned. I do more of a EVA flight by the seat of your pants type method. I just go and don't worry about it. I'll find it eventually. Alright, let's get this broke. Now you notice that window's pretty small. The rock's not huge, so it's going to probably charge pretty decent. So what you want to do, go ahead and run it up till you get up close, and then back off. Maybe even have it drop just a little bit, and then ease into the green. This will actually help more than anything to prevent it blowing up. Alright, so there we go. Drop back down. Try to keep it in the low end. Took a little too much out. Ease back up in. There we go. Then we want to keep in that bottom half of green. Just to kind of hedge our bets and make sure we don't blow the rock. Another nice thing, this seems like you can actually put your shields full forward. So that might help a little bit. Alright, so there we go. Rock is broke. That was pretty easy and painless. I was hoping they'd come back together, but I guess not. So we'll go ahead and get our gadget. Always pick up your gadget. Them things are expensive. I think the cheapest one is like 15 or 16 grand for the Saber. The Optimax is like 22, 23, something like that. So you don't want to be losing those. And then just kind of fly over a little bit and look for the beeping or whatever. So there you go. There it is right there. If you just look around, a lot of times you can find it. And typically, you want to try and turn it off right there on that top left, or bottom left in this case. It's usually top right when it's upright. All right, let's get back in the ship and pick up some rocks. Oh, again, if you haven't seen this before, there was an issue where gadgets were disappearing off the back when you're running around. So I always take mine off and put it in the backpack. And I just store them in there. It's part of the reason I wear the Aerial armor, because you get 80k of storage. Like 80k micro SCU. So it's like one of the biggest bags you can get without wearing heavy armor. That's going to be important at some point when they actually come back down the road and tell us that we can't wear heavy armor while we're flying. Heck, they might even do it with medium. We might have to just wear light or a flight suit. In which case they better get the storage available to store your armor and stuff. Again, we're going to go through, figure out what all the rocks are. We'll read all the rocks first, and then we'll pick up the biggest ones. And it's really a numbers game. You want to try to minimize the amount of inert material or low-end materials if you're not collecting them. And obviously maximize the tier 1, tier 2 ores. Alright, so we'll start here. And like I said, we'll just work our way through. Try to pick up the biggest ones and work your way down. So the highest percentage of tier 1, down to the next highest, and then the next highest, and so forth. And then if you're getting close, just go ahead and grab whatever you can, because you're probably not going to get another rock anyway. So like that one, I wouldn't take normally. Well, actually, honestly, I probably won't take it, but oh, here we go. What do we got here? Missed that one earlier. There we go. That'll help. 2,000 something mass. Purple chunk? Oh, yeah. The other thing to keep in mind, size matters on rocks, on chunks. Because if I have a 30% 900 rock as compared to a 30% 2K rock, overall, I'm just inherently going to get more out of the 2K rock just because it's bigger. All right, and I don't have a lot of room yet. I don't have enough to find another rock, so I'm just going to go ahead and go back and refine it. And then if I decide to take another trip, whatever, then I can start fresh. And then, of course, I'll jump in, hit another location, so forth. And that might be the jackpot. Or it might not. So we'll go ahead and go back and get this refined, get it entered into Regolith, which I still owe a video on at some point. So there we go. So I've got 3774 refinable. So we'll do Dinic solventation. We'll do the gold. I'm trying to get in the habit of doing the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 materials. So I don't want to nerd, obviously. And there's not enough aluminum there to matter. So then we'll take those numbers and we'll take the actually quantity, not the yield. And we'll actually put that into Regolith. So here I've created a session. We'll go ahead and create a ship mining record. Work order. We'll unselect that. We'll pick Krill 1. Can't pick the price estimate yet, so we'll get gold, borace, and titanium. We'll enter the quantity, not the yield. Obviously, this is easier with 2 monitors. He's actually done wonders with this. He's testing out OCR, where you can read right from your screen. So keep an eye out for that. We'll go ahead and put that in. We'll change to Crusader. And we'll save it. There you go. And we'll make about 100 grand off that run. All right. So we've got our order in. We've got the videos pretty much done. If you have any questions, let me know. Comments. Otherwise, have a good day.